Welcome to our program all about hummingbirds. This evening, we're joined by Barb Whipkey, the owner of Wild Birds Unlimited in Lexington Park and LaPlata. As you know, Barb comes to us about once a month to talk about different things with birds and how to help them feed and grow in your own yard and different habitats and things that you can do to help the birds in our area. And today we're focusing on hummingbirds.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining us. Hopefully you have your hummingbird feeders out there. And if not, it is time to get those out because we are having a lot of hummingbird sightings already in St. Mary's, Charles County, around the area. So it's definitely time to get those feeders out. We're going to go over everything you need to know if you've never fed the hummingbirds before. So you'll be ready to get started with those. Start from the beginning. The first video I'm going to show you is from my backyard a few years ago. Hopefully you'll be able to hear as well. It's late in the summer, so there's a lot of activity going on here. Pay attention down here as well to this little swing. You'll see a little hummingbird hop on it as well. So this time of year, you're not seeing obviously that much activity. This is late in the summer after they have nested. When the hummingbirds are here with us, they're going to nest twice. Each female is going to raise 2 sets of young. So this is late in the summer after you have adults, males, females out there and young. Truthfully, this is probably after a lot of the adult males have taken off. So there's not quite so much testosterone out there hoarding the feeders. So the young are more willing to share. The females aren't as aggressive at this point either. So you're seeing more sharing going on at the feeders than what we tend to see most of the year. As you can see, I have multiple feeders. Right now, I would advise you to hang multiple feeders, but spread them around out of sight of each other, which is what's going to increase your feeder activity. If I only put out 2 or 3 feeders right now, put them close together, that male hummingbird is going to hoard all of those feeders because he wants to keep that territory all for himself, because he wants to mate with every female that comes in that territory. So he's claiming that food, that territory, all for himself. So you're going to increase your number of hummingbirds if you were to take those 5 feeders and spread, put one in the front yard, a couple in the front yard, move one under the tree, one to the side of the yard. So multiple feeders put in multiple locations is going to bring you more hummingbirds right now. Late in the year, as your populations increase, then you can increase the number of feeders and put more at a single location. You still want to keep them in those other locations, but you're going to have grown your hummingbird number so much that you'll need to add more feeders, and you can then start to put multiple in single locations. And we'll get into all that as we go along. Okay, hummingbirds. We pretty much only have the ruby-throated hummingbirds here. The one you see up here on the left with this pretty red throat is our male ruby-throated hummingbird. I know sometimes when you look at him, you think he has a black neck or he has a green neck. That is just the sun playing tricks on you or the lighting playing tricks on you. If you look and you see this hummingbird that has a black neck or a green neck, just tilt your angle a bit change the direction, and you'll notice that suddenly that black neck or green neck has turned red again. So that is totally the lighting playing tricks on you. Those ones you see with the coloring on the neck is really just red. It's just the angle of the lighting playing tricks. Then when you see the ones with the solid white patch, that's your females. Now, later in the year, once we start seeing the young join them at the feeders, you'll start seeing some with white and a gray striping through their neck. That is your young juvenile males. And that gray striping is then going to turn into this ruby throat that you see up here. But for now, anybody you see, if it's red, it's a male. If it's a white, it's a female. Now, on occasion, usually in the winters, you might see somebody that looks like this here. That would be your rufous hummingbirds. So we always ask if it's October or later and you're seeing hummingbirds, we would love for you to try to get pictures and email them to us. In the winter, if a hummingbird comes and visits, it's more likely than not going to be a rufous hummingbird, which is a colder weather hummingbird. In that case, we would try to work with you if possible to get a hummingbird bander out there and get it banded so that they can check, because there's also a good chance if he comes and visits you this winter that he may come back to see you again next winter. So that same bander would likely come out next winter, catch it again, and weigh it and check out its health to see how it's doing. So just keep that in mind. If you see any after October when our ruby-throated hummingbirds have flown south, then we would ask you to try to snap pictures and email them to us so we can have the hummingbird experts, of which I am not, to take a look and verify what type of hummingbirds you have. Our hummingbirds are here typically through early April through late September, occasionally a little bit later, but for the most part, late September, our ruby-throated hummingbirds have left the area. So that's why we ask in October, anything you're still seeing, if you can send us pictures, that would be great. From the front is good, but also if you can get some from the back with the tail feathers spread, that's very helpful in IDing those. And then a few hummingbird facts. As I mentioned, the ruby throat are our only ones, but they're typically the only ones that live on the East Coast. Next time you get a coin out of your pocket or your purse, pick up that nickel and think about the weight of it, because that is how much a ruby-throated hummingbird weighs. So very small. And then, as I mentioned, here in Maryland, early April to late September. So it is time to get those feeders out. Just be aware those first hummingbirds that you're going to see are going to use your feeders as a refueling station. Those first ones are headed a little further north. So you are just their Wawa. They are stopping by to refuel and head on further north. So don't be disappointed when they show up and they're there for a day or two and then they disappear. They were just stopping to fuel up. Hummingbirds' feet are only used for perching. So where some of our birds you'll see walk or you'll see them use their feet for eating, the only purpose in your hummingbird's feet is strictly for perching. A hummingbird lives about 9 years, and then they winter over in southern Mexico and the northern Panama. That's a picture there that I took in my backyard of a hummingbird. That's that little swing that I mentioned to you to watch for. And that is just something like this. It has a little red jewel on it there to help attract them. What you would do with this swing is you're going to hang this somewhere from a spot where you can easily see this swing. And then what happens is that hummingbird will use it to sit on that swing and watch their feeders. By hanging this in a visible spot where you can see it from that favorite chair that you have, you're going to increase the time that you get to see your hummingbirds. They're going to be hanging out, guarding their feeders. You're going to sit and watch them. Their jerky movement tends to cause that swing to move. You get more time with your hummingbirds. You've given them a nice perch to perch and hang out on. And so it's just the perfect world there. I tend to leave my hummingbird swings up year round. I find that my chickadees, my tufted titmice, even my dark-eyed juncos in the winter will use those perches. So it's just a fun little extra to have hanging around in a tree or bush or, hanging from your pole station somewhere. And then just a few little fun facts about the hummingbirds. They flap their wings about 53 times per second. I did say per second, not minute. 53 times per second. They fly about 30 miles per hour, but if they're trying to escape something, it's 50 miles per hour. 50 miles per hour. So traffic going down Route 5, Route 235, hummingbird speed. Hummingbirds can fly right, left, backwards, up, down, and then they can even fly upside down. So if they're hanging out there and they decide they want to take off, they can actually take off upside down. So all directions. And then I know you've all seen them just kind of hanging around, hovering. The way they do that is by moving their wings in an actual figure eight pattern is what allows them to hover. And you can watch all day long and try to catch that figure eight pattern, but I'm betting you're probably not going to be able to see that. They are amazing little creatures. And then their diet. We all know nectar, which is what we're trying to replicate when we offer them our sugar water, tree sap, insects, pollen. They eat about 50 times a day. So all that energy with that crazy flapping they're doing, they have to eat a lot to use up that, to replenish that energy. And they eat in large quantity. So comparing your body size to a hummingbird, if you were trying to replenish, you would drinking the way a hummingbird is. Every time you took a drink, you would be drinking about a gallon of water if you were trying to drink the way a hummingbird drinks. Crazy, right? And then the reproduction and life cycle of a hummingbird. So the males arrive first. So the first ones you're going to see is those ones with the red neck. They're going to come, choose their territory. They're going to work to chase off any other male hummingbirds because they have chosen this territory. Then their goal is to mate with every female who enters their territory. The way they will perform a little mating dance, which is basically just a figure U. They'll do a little dance in the shape of a U to perform a courtship display for that female. During their normal rate is about the 50, 53 beats per second. It's double that when they're performing their courtship. So over 100 beats per minute during that courtship display. Once the male has mated with that female, it's over. She's off on her own to raise the kids, and he is looking for that next female to mate with. So hummingbirds are definitely those deadbeat dads. So every female in his territory he tries to mate with, and then he's done. It's all on her to raise the kids. So often what you're going to see is your feeders have been busy and then activity slows down. The reason for that is those females have gone off to raise their young. They need to stay nearby that nest because they need to protect their eggs alone. Then when the babies hatch, they need to feed the babies alone. So they don't have a lot of time to come back to your feeders to refuel. So we often get a lot of questions, where'd my hummingbirds go? I had a lot and now they're gone. You have to figure that a large percent of those female hummingbirds are now out on nests. But just remember, when those females come back, each female is now going to be bringing 2 to 3 young with her to the nest. So all of a sudden, you go from practically no activity to your feeders to boom, it just got crazy. So when you see that slowness, enjoy not having to fill your nectar feeder so much because it's about to get real. And then nesting. So that female is going to build a little nest. If you think about the size of a thimble, that is the size of a nest that she is going to build. Anywhere from 10 to 40 feet in a shrub. Good luck trying to find them. Talk about a needle in a haystack. That's what you're looking for when you think you're looking for a little thimble up there. It's going to be made of thistle, dandelion. You can also put something like this. So this has a red, it's a little wire cage that's made to, then we sell a refillable material that you can put in there for the hummingbirds. So this is also a material that you can use for them. They'll use that, and then they wrap it with spider silk because spider silk is stretchable. So they put those little eggs in there. Remember, Mama's doing this all alone, so she doesn't have somebody to take the second shift. So when she leaves the nest, there's no one there to babysit for her. So as those babies start to grow, this little nest is going to stretch and help hold those babies in place by using that spider silk around there. It'll allow that nest to expand, but yet keep those babies snug in the nest. And then it's covered with lichen and moss, so it helps to blend in. That little tree branch that you see there, just that little fork, she would build it in the little fork of a branch like that. So it's nice and snug in there. And then you figure if you can just picture a little thimble just wedged right in the crook of that branch. It takes her about 6 to 10 days to build that nest. Nests have also been found in loops of chain, wire, extension cord. I always like to hope that that's not in Southern Maryland, but maybe in the big cities where there's less options for them to build because we certainly still have enough rural land here left to give the hummingbirds plenty of good locations for building here. And then this is just a couple pictures of what that nest looked like. And so you can see there it's in the crook of the tree, and you can see how it is pretty camouflaged in there. 1 to 3 eggs. And if you think about the little miniature jelly bean eggs, the little jelly beans, the miniature ones, that is the size of that egg. Crazy, tiny, small. So, which you would think it has to be to fit inside that little thimble. Incubation is going to be 12 to 14 days. So she's going to set on those 2 or 3 eggs for 12 to 14 days. And then those chicks are going to leave that nest at 18 to 22 days. So that's the point where you can start expecting your feeder activity to start picking up again. And then she's going to repeat that cycle twice. So at that point, those babies will start coming to the nest. That's when you're going to start noticing that you have a lot of hummingbirds with the white throats. And that's what we start hearing. I have more females than males at my nest. or at my feeders, or I'm not seeing any males. And that's this when we know that the young have started showing up at the feeders. It's just suddenly the males are outnumbered, or it appears that way because the young have started returning or started turning to the feeders. When a young female or young hummingbird comes to the feeder, they're going to be the same size as an adult hummingbird. They will look a little smaller, but it really is your eyes playing tricks again because their tail feathers will be a little bit shorter than the adults. So when you're looking out there and trying to decide, is that a baby I'm looking at? Take a look at that tail feather and see if it maybe just looks a little bit short. And that'll be a good clue for you too, that you're maybe not looking at a female, but maybe a young one. And then threats to the hummingbird. Obvious as all of our songbirds, habitat loss, destruction. We keep cutting down more trees, clearing more land. Small birds of prey like the American kestrel or sharp-shinned hawk. Praying mantises are probably one that may surprise you. I did not put a picture here, but if you have any doubt whatsoever, Google praying mantis and hummingbird and you will see the pictures. Praying mantises will lay in wait on a hummingbird feeder. I do advise you, if you see a praying mantis on your hummingbird feeder, to go and shoo it off of your hummingbird feeder because it is waiting there with a purpose. And praying mantises can bite, so I wouldn't do that with your hand. Use a little stick or something and let it hop on and give it a little ride away. Snakes and lizards are another big one. Snakes, well, actually, we had a customer a few years ago come in and tell us a story. She went out to take her hummingbird feeder down, and the snake was laying around the top of her black pole, blend in really nicely with that black pole. And just as she went to grab for the hummingbird feeder, she realized that there was a snake on that pole. So we have often recommended that customers use weather guards to help shade the hummingbirds, to allow them to come when it's raining into the feeders. But that was a good reminder to us of one more reason to use weather guards, to not allow those snakes to camouflage themselves against your pole systems also. So that's what adds one more layer of protection from the snakes that might want to camouflage against those poles. And then frogs and fish. So hummingbirds will hover over a little pond, creeks, things like that to catch the insects there. The frogs and fish will catch the movement of the hummingbird and pop up out of the water and grab them. Obviously, that's nature. There is nothing you can do to protect that one. And then, of course, one of the biggest predators of all of our songbirds is cats. So if you can encourage friends, neighbors to keep the cats indoors, if you're having problems with cats around your own feeder poles, you can put automatic sprinkler systems up that react when movement happens around your pole systems. Hang your feeders up with, we have raccoon baffles. So you would that would put your feeders up higher and put them up out of the distance where the cat can jump up and snag them. So things like that will help as well. And then, of course, avoiding pesticides, ways we can help. I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but definitely avoiding pesticides. Planting for the hummingbirds, these are just a few plants that I have added in here. Anything that is red or tubular shaped flowers are ones that hummingbirds are attracted to. Bee balm, cardinal flower, jewelweed, trumpet creeper, trumpet honeysuckle, and red buckeye are a few. You can also add a basket with rotting fruit or bananas. Chip, would you get me? I forget this every time. You probably already know what I need, the green corn holder. I forget this every talk because we don't have it hanging in the hummingbird section. It's in our squirrel section. Every time I do this talk, I have to have him run. I'm here. That's what I bring him for. He's my runner. Um, so this is designed for hanging corn for the squirrels. You can take a banana and just kind of open it up, drop it in there. It will do two things. It will bring in the fruit flies, which then the hummingbirds are attracted to, but the butterflies will also come to get the potassium from the banana. I would not hang this close to your door where when you come in and out of the house, you're going to have the fruit flies running in the house and beating you in there. But putting it outside is a great way. Or even if you have that fruit that's going bad, chop it up, drop it in here. As it decomposes, it's going to bring in more fruit flies, which the hummingbirds absolutely love. So that's another option. It's just a simple little metal thing that you drop corn in, but it's a great little tool. Or any kind of hanging basket you can do that with for putting out there. And then one of the big things, think red on your feeder and not in your feeder. I cringe every time I walk in a store and I see them selling nectar with red in it. Nectar, we are trying to replicate natural nectar, and it is not red. Red is not good for the hummingbird. So please, please, please don't put red dye in your feeders. Red dye is not good for the hummingbirds. It's not good for us. So please don't add that red nectar. Good old sugar water is all you need, and I'll get into that in a bit. The red on your feeder is enough. A hummingbird can find the red on a feeder from 3/4 of a mile away. They don't, that little bit of red in your nectar is not going to do a darn thing. The red on the feeder is plenty. I already mentioned this, but offer multiple feeders in a variety of locations is going to bring you more hummingbirds. You don't need to fill them all the way up. The hummingbird tongue will go all the way to the bottom of this. So right now, while we're waiting for our numbers to grow, just put a small amount in there. And that way you're not wasting a lot of nectar. Right now we're having to change it out every week to 10 days while we're waiting for them to arrive. So just put a tiny amount in there. That little tongue will go all the way to the bottom. Their tongue is longer than their beak is. And then offer the nesting material is a great way to help them. And then choosing a feeder. What you want to look for is a feeder that's easy to clean. I know some of those pretty ones are pretty, but they also can be a challenge to clean. So think about that when you're looking at them. Feeders with perches are nice because it allows the hummingbird to sit while they're eating. That is going to, one, they have to eat less if they're not expending more energy, but two, you get to enjoy them more. Drip free, that old style where the bottle's up here and the outlets are down here. You're fighting gravity in that case. As those bottles get hot, it expands and it forces that liquid to flow out. So you're going to constantly have that drip, which is attracting ants. It's just going to be a problem for you. And then ant mode. So these have a built-in ant mode in that. So you would fill this center with water. When the ants try to crawl down, they're going to drown here in the center. So they're not able to get across to your nectar. You will have to refill this ant moat because birds like our goldfinches, chickadees, love to come and drink out of these little ant moats. If you already have a different style that doesn't have an ant moat, we sell the little ant moats here in the store that you would just, it has a little S hook on the side, but you would just hang it above your current feeder so you can add an ant moat to your current feeder. You will notice that our feeders do not have yellow. I know a lot of the feeders out there have yellow flowers. Yellow is going to attract bees. In my yard, that would be a nightmare. My husband is a beekeeper. If any of you shop in the store, you've seen the honey in the store. That comes straight out of our yard in Leonardtown. This would be a bee fest if we had the yellow on there. The bees would be all over that. So we're trying to feed hummingbirds, not bees. So avoid yellow if you don't want to bring in more bees. And then before we ever open the store, I have found this style of hummingbird feeder. Sometimes my hobbies and his hobbies don't mesh so well, and his bees like to get all over my feeders. So I had to find hummingbird feeders that were bee proof, and these are what I landed on. So there's little prongs here, and then there's little nectar guard tips that just cover those little prongs. The hummingbird tongue will go through those nectar guard tips, but a bee's tongue is not long enough to go through there. So these ones can be bee proofed. So those are things, just when you're buying those feeders, although they may look beautiful, just think about the fact, how easy are they going to be to clean? Keep that in mind. We do have a lot of little brushes and things in the store that will help you. Little tiny, they look like makeup brushes really, and then larger brushes. So we do have a lot of brush styles to help you with that though. And then your nectar recipe. So basic 1 part white sugar, 4 parts water. Notice I said white sugar, no brown sugar, no golden sugar, no organic sugar. Good old-fashioned white sugar like we grew up on. You need it enough to dissolve the sugar. If you're getting the powdered sugar is in baking powder sugar, if you're getting your sugar from us, this is finely ground. So you will be able to just use warm water and it'll dissolve really easily for you. Then you can mix it right up in the nectar bottle, fill your feeders, and pop it in the fridge until you're ready to fill it again. Always keep in mind though, if you wouldn't drink it, don't feed it to them. Once you notice it starting to turn cloudy, it's time to empty it, clean that feeder, and put out fresh. If it's been sitting in the feeder or in the fridge for a couple weeks, toss it, make a fresh batch. I already mentioned that the hummingbird tongue is longer than their beak, but we used to think that hummingbirds actually use their tongue like a straw, and that's actually not the case. They actually lick it up at 13 licks per second. And then feeder care. Those feeders, so you're putting out sugar in the heat and it will ferment quickly. So watch for that cloudy as soon as you see it with feeders like this, or anytime you can find those clear feeders, I highly recommend those because you're going to be able to see it when it's turning cloudy. The minute you see it start to turn cloudy, it's time to change those feeders out. I like to have an extra feeder so that I can refill the new one, put it out there, and then bring in that old one to wash it. Keep your ports clean using those brushes. You can clean it in hot water. if it's kind of grody, yucky, then use vinegar water, but just make sure to rinse it well. When you take it out, don't don't overfill it because if that nectar splashes on the outside, you're going to invite the bees into that feeder. So I never fill it all the way up and then carry it. I prefer to take that feeder out by where I'm going to hang it, fill it right there. So then I'm just hanging it right up. Again, we've got lots of bees in the yard, so I need to do everything I can to not invite them to my feeders. And then that little bottle of feeder fresh that I have there, this is an additive that you can add to their food. 1 tablespoon per quart of nectar. It's a natural ingredient that will prolong the life expectancy twice the normal. Love, love, love this stuff. So this is really helpful. And we actually have we now have a concentrate that has it already in it. So this is the liquid concentrate that you just follow the directions on it, add the water, and then you also have this is already in it. So you're going to get twice as long out of that, especially during the heat where you're having to change it every 3 days. I appreciate being able to leave it out 5 or 6 days instead. But again, the key is watch for that cloudiness. When it's starting to turn cloudy, change it out. Okay, and then we're going to talk about hand feeding. So this particular feeder has a little hole in the bottom. This is the one I'm using. This is in my front yard. I'm using this feeder right there. And I'm going to go backwards, I guess. Let's try again. Here we go. You can see I'm just kind of holding it closer so I can get a closer look at him. And that's a him because you see that red on the neck. So this feeder normally hangs right there. What I've done is I've gone out to fill it, and instead of hanging it up, I'm just holding it instead, took my phone with me, stand there and held it. They come right down, especially early morning, late evening when they're bulking up. Instead of hanging it up, just stand there and hold it what it would normally be. They're used to coming to it, so they'll come right down. I do the same with our window feeder. So we have a window feeder that works the same way. This piece stays on your window. This is that ant moat that you're going to fill with water. And then this piece pops out. This is the piece you would put the nectar into. So that would be the nectar. I'll do the same thing. Go out there, stand, hold it. They come right down to drink from it. Then, once you've done that a few times, take your feeders down when you're getting ready to change them. Take this little tiny ring, or we also, if you're a little steadier and can hold it, we also have some, this one's great for the kids, or if you're just not steady, this is just a ring you can put on. We also have some little dots, and I think I have the video of that, we'll see in a minute, that you can stand there and hold so you can get them drinking and landing on your finger. So hummingbirds prefer to eat from a raised perch. So what you would do is get them drinking, raise your finger a little bit. Let's see if this video is on here. It is. So let me do less talking and show you. So once he starts drinking, I'll raise my finger to give him that raised perch. So that's a juvenile. See those stripes? Let me back that up. So I talked about the male juveniles will start to get that striping there. Let me pull that back and see if I can get it to freeze there and get a good shot of the, come on, show. There you go. Can you see that striping on the neck? So that is going, well, it is already a male, but that's a male juvenile. He actually has his tongue stuck out at us as well. But that is a male juvenile there. So we'll play this one all over again, let you get a second look. And no matter how many times I've done it, I still cannot not giggle when they land on my finger. It's the coolest. If you weren't watching, you would not feel them sit down on your finger. It's just such a cool experience. So the key is take your other feeders away, stand where they normally come to eat, and they will come right down and land on you. And if you want to do it with children or you're not 100% comfortable, like I said, just use the ring. And that way you can put the ring on, just sit with your hand on a chair or something. Take your other feeders down and just sit somewhere in the near vicinity. That red will pull them right in. Okay. And then one other feeder that I did want to share is Hummingbird Smart Feeders. If you have not seen Hummingbird Smart Feeders, they are amazing. So these you can connect through your Wi-Fi. They have solar panels on them, and then you just connect it to your phone. So with that, I can look in from my phone and see. That's how I knew when my hummingbirds first returned this year, because I obviously am not home a lot of times. So I was able to see when my hummingbirds returned, and you catch all that activity. So with that, what other questions do you have for me?
Um, Andy had a question in the chat. Andy asks, can I make the food ahead of time? If so, how long can it stay good in the refrigerator? You talked about that, but can you go over it again?
Yes, so you can make it ahead of time. I would keep it in there no more than a couple weeks. But honestly, as the season ramps up, you're going to be going through it so quick. And again, like I said, I recommend having 2 or 3 feeders in 2 or 3 different locations.
Andy also asked, what about ant guard as an alternative to a moat?
And guard. Um, are you talking with the chemicals in it? Okay. I am not familiar with that product, so I can't speak on that. I will say that I have another one, Nectar Fortress, that we will recommend here that you can put a little strip around. You just want to put it somewhere where the birds aren't going to get it on them. So, like down at the base of the pole or somewhere. This one, it's a cinnamon oil and ants will not cross this. So this can be amazing. No, I don't want you to put it up on the feeder, but if you can put it down somewhere where the birds aren't going to come into contact with it, this stuff is pretty amazing. Every spring, I have this one window. We've been here in St. Mary's County since 2003. And from the time we built this house, this one window, the ants come through this window every year. So since I found this product, as soon as they start, I open that window, I line that little windowsill with this stuff, close the window, and we're good for the rest of the summer. So I swear by this stuff, but it is good stuff. I use it on my bird, all my bluebird houses. I put this up under the baffle so we don't have problems with the ants getting up into the nest boxes anymore. So this stuff is really cool. This is one I definitely recommend.
We have another question in the chat. It says, could the birds get sick from drinking nectar that has turned cloudy or moldy, or will they just stop coming to the feeder when it doesn't taste okay?
Uh, We would like to hope they quit, but they absolutely could. So please, please, please change it out. Um, if you're not going to be able to change it out, like if you're going to be out of town and you don't have a pet sitter or somebody, please just don't feed them during that time. They'll be able to get insects and things to eat instead. So yeah, definitely change it out. Same with bird baths. If you're not going to be able to keep it fresh, empty it instead. Um, yeah, as I mentioned, if you wouldn't drink it, don't feed it to them. So yeah, great question. Please do change it out. Don't leave it out there for them.
Okay,
And
another
hey
question.
Chip, will you grab me one of those copper discs? I'm kind of jumping topics here, but I do that a lot. I'm like a butterfly flitting from topic. Shut up, Chip. Um, so we have these little copper discs. Remember how we used to put pennies in bird baths? I'm telling my age here. And th- this will help to keep, this is only your bird bath. Don't do this to your hummingbird feeders. This will help to keep your bird baths fresher, keep the algae in that from growing. So we do have these cool little copper discs that you can put into your bird baths. And these are amazing. Any of our customers that you have used these, I know will swear by these. These are amazing. So as far as the bird baths go, this will help to keep your bird baths. You still have to do basic cleaning and everything, but this is going to help a lot with bird baths.
Okay, we have another question. What type of food does the mom feed the babies? Is it nectar or insects?
Insects. So
Insects.
protein. Yes. Birds' feathers are made up of 90% protein. So they need to, this is with all of our songbirds. They are pushing protein at them. If you shop in here, this time of year, not for hummingbirds, but for our other birds, we are promoting the nesting blend. And that's why, is because it is heavily based on high protein, high calcium foods.
All right. Any other questions? Does anybody have any other questions? And Barb also has some information about an event she's having in May.
Yeah, I'm looking at the cheat board here. May 9th from 11 to 2 here at our Lexington Park store, we will have our live birds of prey. I'm not sure what he's bringing, but this is Mike, who is our education director, will be bringing several different live birds of prey. I think the LaPlata, I'm going to peek real quick here and give you the LaPlata date at the same time. That way, if you're on travel or something and not able to make that, you can mark that date down too. He will be at La Plata with those birds May 23rd. Same time, 11 to 2. So live birds of prey in Lexington Park, May 9th, and La Plata, May 23rd from 11 to 2. So it's a free event. I always recommend staying as long as you can or come visit, go get some lunch, come back because he'll bring a bird out, talk about it. When it's had enough and needs a break, he'll put that one, get another one back. So it goes on for a while, but if you've never listened to Mike talk, Mike is a natural performer. He's our education director. He's a natural performer and a wealth of knowledge. So you will learn more than you ever thought possible about these birds. And he does it in a fun way too.
Speaking of birds of prey, Barb has a camera on an owl family. You can see
Oh,
the videos on Facebook.
yes, I have a barred owl that has nested in my backyard since 2019 in a nest box. And so we have a camera on them. Some of you have probably seen Olivia and Allie and seen the drama with those two on our Facebook page. That's on both our Lexington Park and La Plata. I post some of the stories. We just announced we did a naming contest and we announced the babies' names this morning. And I already forget, I'd have to go and look. If somebody's on here and remembers the name, you can put it in the chat for me and help me out on that. But we did the naming. This is her first year to ever have three. She typically only has one and occasionally two. So they definitely overperformed this year. But Olivia and Allie have been very busy this year. So yeah, check our Facebook page and you can see some of their videos and the babies' videos.
Oh, they're named after the chipmunks.
Yes,
Alvin, Simon, and Theodore.
yes. I believe it was one of our LaPlata customers that picked that name.
That is so cute.
Yes.
Okay. That's really cute. Okay. Um, is there any other questions? Anybody have any other questions? I think that's everything. Is there anything else, Barb?
I think that's all for now.
Okay. Well, everybody have a great night. Hope your hummingbirds have lots of nectar, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.